Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, it is Monday, June 8th, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm live here in Atlanta, where Warren Dunn held his annual Celebrity Golf Classic, benefiting Warren Dunn charities. We'll hear from him talking about the great work that they're doing with families, putting them into homes, but also dealing with their physical and mental well-being as well. In Texas, the Karmelo Anthony defense rested without calling him to testify. It was a difficult day in court when the jury showed audible gasps when they saw gruesome autopsy photos of the young man that Karmelo Anthony is charged with killing. Also today, a federal court ruled that officials in Iowa cannot repurpose a scholarship specifically meant for African Americans. We'll talk to one of the attorneys involved in that particular case as well. The Marshall Project reports at least 47 suicides in solitary confinement in Mississippi over a 10-year period. We'll discuss this troubling pattern that's happening in Mississippi prisons. Also, Donald Trump continues to insult black female journalists, this time walking out of an interview with NBC's Meet the Press, Kristen Welker. He insults her on his way out as he continues to advance the lie of election fraud from 2020. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, but now headed for closing arguments in the case of Karmelo Anthony, the young man who was charged with murder in Collin County, Texas. The defense today rested without calling Karmelo to testify. Of course, he is on trial for the murder of a white teen that took place at a track meet there in Collin County. The all-white jury of 11 women and 7 men, they will decide the fate of this black teen. Joining us tomorrow, again, closing arguments will begin on tomorrow. Legal analyst Thelma Anderson has been in Collin County following this trial. And so get us up to date. Thelma, Saturday, the trial took place on Saturday. And then, of course, you had the defense taking over and today. So let's talk about what took place on Saturday, and then let's talk about what happened today. The prosecution continued advancing their case on Saturday. What took place?
Absolutely. On Saturday, the state called their final witness, one of their final witnesses, which was the young man who invited Karmelo into the tent. So they called, I think his name is Eddie Parra. He's a student at Memorial with the brothers Hunter and Austin. So they called him, and it was a very explosive day because he got on that stand and he completely denied that he knew Karmelo. And it was very weird that the state would allow one of their main witnesses to get on the stand and discredit themselves and allow the defense to come in and ruin their credibility by showing actual pictures of him and Karmelo at friend gatherings, at family gatherings. And he got on that stand and denied that he even knew Karmelo, which was very explosive and very bad for the state. So that was one of the things that happened.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
That was one of the pivotal moments that happened on the state side, and then they ended up resting right after the defense completely ruined his credibility. And so once they rested, then the defense started their case, which the defense ended up calling a state witness who the state decided not to call, because once we heard his testimony, it was very clear he brought too much truth to the credibility of Karmelo as to why the state decided not to call this individual who was actually sitting right there, saw everything, and is the one that gave the police officers the statement that Karmelo was invited into the tent. Karmelo was not aggressive. Hunter was the aggressive one. Austin then reciprocated the energy of his brother, as well as he said something that was very damaging, which was Austin was substantially bigger than Karmelo, who was sitting down the entire time, which adds to the proportion of weight classes of when a person is deciding, okay, this person is bigger than me. I cannot take them. I'm in fear of my life. I'm going to have to use force necessary to defend myself. So that's pretty much what happened on Saturday that now trickled over till today, Monday.
Okay, so how many witnesses did Karmelo's defense team call today?
They called a total of 3.
They called a total of 3 witnesses. And so you talked about one of those witnesses with the state witnesses. One of those witnesses was a state witness. Who were the other 2 witnesses?
The other 2, so one was a state witness. Well, 2 of them was a state witness. We had an officer, and we had one of Karmelo's teammates that gave a statement. And then we had an individual who wouldn't be considered a state witness because he was a student at a different school, but he was there during a track meet and actually saw a physical altercation take place.
All right, and so then they chose to rest. Now they head to closing arguments. And so, you know, clearly the state believes that they've made their case. Are you surprised that Karmelo's defense team only called 3 witnesses?
I'm not surprised because, as I've stated from the inception, the burden to meet each and every element is on the state, and it never shifts, even in a self-defense claim. I can tell you that throughout this particular trial, the inconsistencies from these state's witnesses was very strange, is that the defense wasn't even calling their witnesses. The state called them in order to bring out even more truth that the state, I feel like, was trying to bury in the inconsistencies to pretty much confuse the jury. I'm like, why would you risk this type of trial with such weak evidence and such weak, inconsistent statements that were not reliable? And I would add something today happened that was explosive, that we still don't know what happened. We were supposed to go back in after lunch at 12:30, but we didn't go back into 2, which there's a question of what was going on within that time frame, because it was some energy coming out of that courtroom. And we were waiting to see if Hunter was going to testify, because the defense had the ability to call that brother, which he didn't. The state didn't call him, which we know he has a lot of credibility issues. But we were waiting to see if the defense was going to call Hunter. But after that lunch and that hour-and-a-half break that added after that lunch, we are still trying to figure out what happened as to why both sides had this intensity about themselves coming outside of their courtroom.
All right, then. So, again, closing arguments will be taking place tomorrow in that Collin County. And then the jury will get that case and decide the fate of Karmelo Anthony, of course, who is being tried for murder there in Collin County. Thelma Anderson, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, we're going to go to a break. We come back, more on Roland Martin Unfiltered, including drama in Iowa. Drama in Iowa, where all these attacks on DEI, and folks decided, okay, you know, we're going to just repurpose this money given to us for black students. And they get sued saying, wait a minute, you can't do that. You can't tell us what to do with money that was specifically earmarked for African Americans. And so we'll talk about that also. The Marshall Project details, again, nearly 50 suicides in over a decade period in Mississippi. What is going on in those Mississippi prisons? And also former NFL great Ward Dunn, who has really done a lot post his career of building homes, participating with Habitat for Humanity, helping people get into homes and providing furniture and things along those lines. Now they're expanding what they do for well-being as well as health and mental well-being. So we'll share with you what he told me here in Atlanta, where I participated in the Ward Dunn Celebrity Golf Classic. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's up? It's Talib Kweli. I'm CEO. This is the Black Star Network.
You know, there are mean-spirited, crass individuals on Capitol Hill, but there is no one in modern history who is as shameful, despicable, and pathetic as Donald Trump. All he does is show disrespect and how he degrades other people, especially journalists, especially black women journalists. This weekend, he was being interviewed by NBC's Kristen Welker for Meet the Press, and it was a contentious interview. Donald Trump continued to lie about the 2020 election. And when challenged on it, the petulant child acted as if he soiled his pants and got up angry and walked out on the interview. Watch.
Billion so-called anti-weaponization fund. It was going to compensate people who say the federal government weaponized the legal system against them. It's been blocked by the courts, met with opposition from Republicans
and Democrats
in Congress and Democrats.
Excuse me, mostly Democrats.
Mostly
some
Democrats and some Republicans.
Some. Very few Republicans.
Just to be very clear, are you backing off the fund completely, as your acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has said, or are you looking for another avenue to revive the fund?
Let me explain what the fund is. People have been hurt so badly by radical left lunatics
that worked for the Biden administration and Sleepy Joe. They're vicious, they're violent, what they did to people. And of course, they went after me more than anybody else. They raided Mar-a-Lago and all the other things. But people have been badly hurt. They've committed suicide. They've lost their jobs. They've lost their families. They've lost their wives. They've lost everything. They've lost everything over a fake weaponization of government. Now,
so
let me just tell you.
Are you looking for a way to revive it?
Well, look, if it was up to me, I'd pay them the kind of money that they deserve. People have been destroyed. Lives have been destroyed. Many suicides. Think of it. People have committed suicide because a bunch of thugs went after them.
You don't...
So, me, personally, I think the weaponization fund is a great idea. And so do many other Republicans. You have to get it approved. If they get it approved, that's great. If they don't get it approved, I'd be disappointed.
All right, we're going to motor through this.
But you have to understand, people have been destroyed by crooked politicians, and they should be reimbursed for that.
Do you think anyone who attacked police officers on January 6th should get taxpayer money?
I wouldn't be inclined to say so, but I have to see it. I can tell you this, 97% of those people, you look at them, the FBI or whoever it was, because you had a lot of crooked cops, you had dirty cops. Comey was a dirty cop.
Well,
a guy like Bolton was a dirty cop.
But there's no evidence.
Wait a minute. Oh, you think Comey was a straight
people
cop?
who pleaded guilty to assaulting police
Comey
officers.
was a dirty cop.
No, but
they
the
had
people
FBI.
who assaulted police
Listen
officers.
to me. They had FBI agents ushering them into the building. They had FBI go into the building. Those people walking around, they're looking, oh, isn't this nice? They weren't in. They were being ushered into the building.
There's no evidence.
You had a bunch of dirty cops, and frankly, what they did was weaponization of our government.
But sir, there's no evidence of that. More than 1,000 people.
No, there's none. You know what you do? Try looking at the tapes one time.
Would you take it off
Look
the
at
table?
the tapes one time.
But 172 people did plead guilty to assaulting police officers.
You know why they pled guilty?
Should they be exempt?
Because they told they were going to jail
funds?
for 15 years if they didn't.
Should they?
They pled guilty because they were frightened. They went down. They were ushered into a building. Many of them were arrested without even going into the building.
You'd be okay with them receiving taxpayer dollars?
The people were destroyed by dirty cops and by weaponization. Many of those people should be compensated. Now, with that being said, as I understand it, the weaponization fund was going to set up a group of people, people that could be picked by anybody, fair people, smart people, and they will go on an individual case basis.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the weaponization fund. I love the idea because people like you, the fake, dirty press, the crooked press, people like stupid Biden, he's not smart enough to know what's going on, but people that surrounded him, surrounded his beautiful, resolute desk in the Oval Office, what they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people. They sent people to jail who did nothing wrong.
All right, just to be very clear, there's no evidence of what you're saying, but let me ask you about Todd Blanche. Let me ask you about Todd Blanche.
Listen to me.
Let's talk about Todd Blanche.
There's tremendous evidence. There's nothing but evidence. The election was
rigged.
It was a dirty election.
Mr.
And it's
President,
happening again right now in California.
You've never presented evidence.
It's happening
the
right now in California.
Rigged.
Right now, it's look at what's happening in California.
Where's the evidence to that?
It's
the
4 days.
The Republicans are doing well in
California. No, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days, and they aren't even close to coming up with it.
That's how they count.
You know why they're doing that? Because they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support
all
that?
I have to do is look. All I have to do is look.
That's not evidence.
And I listen to people, and let's see what happens.
But sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
That's how they count the votes in California.
Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a winner?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but let's
really.
Let's
well,
continue.
You play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid. You play right into their hands with this rap. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about, I want to talk about Todd
You
Blanche.
have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about...
elections in this country, we're like a third world country.
But, sir,
your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But, Mr. President...
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know.
I've sat in the rain with you for an hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press, because you know what?
Mr. President,
a country can never be great with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
My pound, Dr. Ome Congo Debenga Sr., Professor of Lecture, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racism, joining us from D.C. Dr. Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Glad to have both of you here. Let's just be real clear, Ome Congo. He is a decrepit individual. He has no bottom. And let's just be honest. These Republicans, they support this crap. They don't mind this crap. They don't care how he treats people, abuses people, and he's just a shameful individual.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And, you know, he has so much disdain for the media in general, Don Lemon, Jim Acosta, but we know a particular level of disdain goes towards Black women. And I applaud Kristen Welker for what she did, because, quite honestly, I've been disappointed with some of her interviews, but I've been disappointed with a lot of these guys' interviews, because I've never seen Trump get this level of pushback, and she kept pushing. I at the end, though, when she was like, I came all the way out here, that kind of represents the problem with the media, is that he's verbally abusive to them, and they keep coming back to him. I get it, the president, you want access, but you can't keep entertaining liars. And this man is a misogynist. He's been, adjudicated, found guilty for sexual assault. He's homophobic. He's racist. He represents the base aspects of this country that everybody wants, that his supporters want us to go back to. And these media outlets who claim to have some form of credibility left within their system, we ain't talking about CBS, they got a real decision to make as to how much they want to continue to platform him, because he knows that when he gets on there, he is only talking to his base. The folks who want this red meat, the folks who love this, he doesn't give a damn about the rest of us. He said this over and over and over again. So I applaud her with the pushback, but this is going to be who he's going to be. He is not going to change. Real networks need to make a decision to if they're going to continue to platform something as verbally abusive, as misogynistic, and hateful as what he just did again.
What they also have to do, Derek, they have to have the guts to say, why do you keep lying? See, they don't even want to use that word. You got to call it what it is. He is a liar.
That's right.
Not only is he a liar, but this pattern, Roland, has been the same from the very beginning. I mean, he has tried to shame April Ryan. He tried to insult Abby Phillips, Joyanne Reed, and the list continues. So not only do they need to call him a liar, but they also need to say this president is undermining the First Amendment. I mean, it's dangerous, Roland, for him to refer to journalists as the enemy of the people. You all, such as yourself, you are out there to uphold the First Amendment, to inform the public. And so when you have someone that's using this bully pulpit to refer to those who are in your industry as enemy of the people and fake news and liars and crooked, somebody else is listening to that, Roland. And those individuals may, put your life and other journalists' lives at stake. And so we have to make sure that we're painting the right picture. And the picture is this, to Dr. Omekongo's point. This is a pattern, and this is who he is. And we have to stop whitewashing the information when it comes to Donald Trump. He is a liar, and he is not upholding the Constitution as he should be as the president of the United States.
He is really a despicable individual, and I'm telling you right now, if I was sitting across from him, I would simply say, "You're lying. Right now, you're lying, and you continue to lie. You got to call it what it is." They keep offering deference to him, to the office of the president, when he simply has not earned it, nor does he deserve it. So what you saw was a despicable display by Donald Trump, but that's who he is. That's who he will always be. He is never going to change, and he should be called out every single time. And these media organizations have got to stop being scared to speak truth when he does it. All right, folks, let's talk about a case out of Iowa. The Iowa Supreme Court ruled the University of Iowa may not repurpose a private scholarship that a donor specified should go to black students majoring in physical sciences, especially chemistry. The university, where black students make up just 3% of the enrollment, filed a petition in district court requesting permission to distribute Dr. Totten's gift differently than he had specified. They wanted to give a scholarship to first-generation students. The university argued that because of the Supreme Court's affirmative action decision, it should be able to repurpose private donations such as that of Dr. Totten. However, that would conflict with the wishes of the donor, who is since deceased, which is expressed in his will. In 1997, chemistry professor and civil rights pioneer Ezra Totten established the scholarship in keeping with his life's work. In the 1930s, he was part of litigation to allow black students to enter graduate programs at the University of Tennessee, and he strove his whole life to improve access to the sciences for black students. David Walker is co-counsel for the NAACP of Iowa and Nebraska. Joins us now from Des Moines, Iowa. Glad to have you here, David. Let's talk about this here.
Thank you very much.
Because, I mean, my goodness, how can you just decide to say, all right, well, because the Supreme Court decision dealing with affirmative action, which applied to admissions, the Supreme Court's decision, and I don't understand what these universities are all doing. The Supreme Court's decision did not apply to scholarships. It only applied to admissions.
It is true that there are a number of decisions that have been holding the Supreme Court's decision in the Harvard and North Carolina cases applicable to scholarship assistance as well. We recognize that while it might not be unlawful under the then existing authorities, it was nevertheless impracticable to leave this endowment established by Ezra Totten, Dr. Totten, with the University of Iowa. And so we invoked a really centuries-old, timeless, and statutorily authorized procedure to have the court consider the issue and not the University of Iowa itself. The charity itself should not be able to determine exclusively how the gift shall be administered.
First of all, how large is this endowment?
The endowment initially was $35,000, somewhat more, and over time it has grown to $58,000. The significance of that is that when it becomes unlawful or impracticable or impossible to administer the gift as Dr. Totten intended, it should then go to a trial court looking at the will, looking at the gift instrument, and examining all relevant evidence to determine the purpose that would most nearly approximate what the donor, Dr. Totten, would have intended, would have wanted. What would his probable intention have been? Goes to the court, not the university.
You say it goes to the court, and that's based upon what?
And there is a statute, Roland, called the Uniform Prudent Management of Institutional Funds Act. Every state, it's a uniform act. I believe every state in the union has adopted, and it says, when it becomes to impossible or impracticable or unlawful to administer an endowed fund as it was intended by the donor, Ezra Taunton. The trial court, on the basis of the gift instrument, the will, Dr. Taunton's will, and all relevant evidence, and my colleague at the ACLU and I put together a tremendous amount of evidence about what his intention would have been. It's for the court to consider what most nearly possible would reflect and fulfill the donor's, Dr. Taunton's, purposes. In his case, Roland, he wanted to give 40% of his estate to his beneficiaries. Two of those beneficiaries were the University of Wisconsin and the University of Iowa, and for both of those, he said for a Black student majoring in the physical sciences, preferably chemistry, which was his field. The other three, White Rock Baptist Church, long time, age-old Baptist Church in Durham, North Carolina, North Carolina Central University and Knoxville University, both historically Black colleges and universities. And for those three, there was no racial restriction. And the truth is, under the law today, there can't legally be a racial restriction. Under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and under the Equal Protection Clause as interpreted by the court, there can't be. But for those three, there's no racial restriction. And this is a person whose whole life was involved in supporting communities of which he'd been a part. And so we were arguing that, and the court made very important findings in this respect, that the trial court ought to be able to consider transferring that endowment, $58,000, to one or equally among those other three schools, free of the racial restriction, to support the communities there, the communities to which he wanted to give back, and in the course of his life, he spent so much time giving back.
I want you to speak to this here because the same thing happened. University of Texas. There was a Hispanic graduate who I think was a School of Pharmacy, and he wanted his endowment to go to Latino students, and the university said that was now illegal. So, is the issue if the university is making the decision? So let's say someone has a nonprofit. Or let's say someone has provided the money to another organization. Can that individual say, like, let's just say I'm a graduate of Texas A&M. If I say I want to give out 2 scholarships a year to Black students who are admitted to Texas A&M, based upon how even the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action in college admissions, is that allowed?
Well, it may not be. The Texas A&M is a state institution, so the 14th Amendment would apply. The Students for Fair Admission versus Harvard and the University of North Carolina would
but here's what I mean. Here's what I mean, David, here's what I mean. I'm not giving the money to the school. I'm saying if the students are already admitted and I decided I wanted to give 2 Black students a year a scholarship, is that allowed? Because what's happening is different individuals who've established groups of affinity groups, African Americans, Latinos. We've seen this happen in Auburn University, other places as well. So we have existing scholarships that have been created for this purpose that now are in jeopardy. So the question then becomes, okay, how do we, if we're still trying to emphasize and want to provide economic resources to expand diversity at these institutions, then if the former student association, if the alumni association, if the school itself can't do this, then can an external group still do this, provided that they're the ones provided the scholarship and not the institution?
I believe that you'd be able to give the money to those two individuals who made it aware that they'd been admitted to Texas A&M and were African American students, and you chose to give your money to them. That would be perfectly fine. Here's what was happening in the Iowa case. The University of Iowa was trying to repurpose the gift from African American students to first generation students. Now, let me give some background on that, because nationally there are twice as many first generation students as there are African American students, and at the University of Iowa the difference is even greater. 3 or 4% of University of Iowa is African American, and several times that is first generation students. But here's what's also true. This is a question under the law for a court to decide. And if you look at Ezra Totten's life, everything he did, from beginning as a kid in Sedalia, North Carolina, working with his father and his siblings, helped out other people in the community, people in farm, people in small business. He went to a segregated school in Sedalia, and as he obtained his master's and his doctorate and became chair at North Carolina Central University, he worked on behalf of all of their students. North Carolina Central University is not racially restricted. It's got probably about 20% non-African American, I think 11 or 12% white, 11 or 12% Hispanic, 2 to 3%, others, Asian, Native American, and the like. And what the court, importantly, in the Iowa case said to the University of Iowa and to the Attorney General, you have to appoint somebody who's going to represent Ezra Totten's intent, because the law requires that we, as best as possible, approximate, fulfill his probable intention, his charitable purposes, in light of the will, in light of what his attorney communicated, in light of all the evidence about his life. And it is clear that the University of Iowa had nobody representing Ezra Totten's individual intentions. And here's what the court also said, is for God's sakes, if you're going to look at Ezra Totten's probable intention, his charitable purposes, you have to look at the will. And the University of Iowa never introduced Ezra Totten's will into the trial court when it sought modification or repurposing to first generation students. And the court said that was an error. Now, here is an important point. The law in the act that I mentioned, authorizes a modification, and the modification may include transfer of the funds to another institution. And important points here, he named 3 other institutions with rich, historic Black communities that contained no prohibited racial restriction, to which that endowment might be transferred free of a challengeable racial restriction. And so that will be something for the trial court on remand. Sometimes, Roland, in a bequest, as in this case, there are explicit and implicit purposes. And one of the purposes might in fact not be enforceable. Here, a university's use of race explicitly in the award of scholarship. In that case, what the law says is, disregard the lesser purpose. What was the larger purpose? The larger purpose was somebody like you wanting to give back to the community of which you've been a part, which has supported you in your upbringing and in your family and in hard times or whatever. And to enable that gift to be made to fulfill the larger purposes, which the ACLU and the NAACP, which I was a co-counsel with Rita Bettis-Austin, a terrific legal director for the ACLU of Iowa. In that case, a lot, transferring the money to one of the historically Black recipients of his scholarship would fulfill his larger purposes to support that university. That charitable purpose that he wanted to fulfill. Giving it to first generation students would not. For example, you could have an accomplished, hardworking, financially in need African American student, one or both of whose parents had gone to college but had passed away. Something terrible had happened. They were no longer in the picture. He would not qualify for Ezra Totten's scholarship. That seems wrong, especially given the numbers and the dilutive effect that would be evident in this case, given the number. Twice as many first generation students nationally as African American students, many times that at the University of Iowa. But I think
bottom line here, David. Bottom line here, David, is real simple. If somebody gets given money for a purpose, you just don't decide to take the money, even though you may not deem it to be a whole hell of a lot of money. And the reality is, I get first generation, but the reality is there are a lot of African American students who are first generation to go to college. They are first time in their family, and the reality is we still need to have these scholarships providing opportunities for these individuals, and they should not be usurped. And I really hope and pray that individuals as well as alumni associations and others really rethink, providing their money to these state institutions in light of these folks. And again, I believe what they are doing is there's an overreach when it comes to this decision. You had Republicans in Congress like Senator Tom Cotton sending letters to law firms saying, oh, your apprenticeship programs, your internship programs are now in violation because of the Supreme Court ruling. I'm like, no, they're not. That's nonsense. And so I certainly hope folks fight back in these cases. David, we appreciate it.
There's got to be a way for Black people. There's got to be a way for Black people to give back to their communities without somebody saying it's unconstitutional or unlawful.
Absolutely. David Walker, we should appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Roland.
We're going to bring in Ome Congo and Derek. Derek, I'll start with you. And he's right. I mean, that has to take place. We can't, just continue to sit here and act as if the need is not there. And what we are seeing an extreme court doing the bidding of right-wingers, denying opportunities. And frankly, what they're saying is that white people in this country have more rights than African Americans and others. And we see this. We see this in the vaccine case. We see this. We see this. We see this in the gerrymandering case, in gerrymandering cases as well. This court has been shameful and despicable.
Roland, I appreciate you covering this case because it's truly exposing the higher education landscape. I mean, think about it. You got college administrators right now who are more afraid on what this administration is going to do, what the DOJ is going to do, or heck, better yet, what state legislators are doing in the various states against the higher education. They're rewriting laws, Roland, to make it more challenging for Black students to be financially solvent in college as they matriculate through these various colleges and universities. And they're also aiming specifically, Roland, at HBCUs. And so this is incredulous. It's sad that we are here in 2026 you and I and Dr. Omekongo, we should be able to create a scholarship, to be able to give back, to be able to, pay it forward. But when you have someone that's having the Supreme Court and the DOJ, some of the largest branches of government, dismantling this effort to give back, is just shameful. It's just shameful.
Well, we see what is going on here, Omekongo, and I'm telling you right now, a lot of individuals who have provided money to institutions are having to deal with this very issue. And these institutions are saying, hey, because of this ruling, we can't administer this endowment, can't administer this scholarship. And my whole deal is, take it back and say, hey, we're gonna award it ourselves.
My daughter just graduated high school, valedictorian, and wants to do chemistry in college. And, we're seeing, and I have another daughter who's a rising junior in college, money drying up in different places. Scholarships like this that were available are no longer available. And this is, and going back to what you said in the beginning of your interview with Mr. Walker, it's like that Supreme Court decision was about admissions, but it's like they're taking it and applying it to every other aspect, because this is what these schools, some of these schools and some of these leaders have always wanted to do. And they're jumping at every opportunity to deny Black people and non-white folks in general the opportunity to get a better education. What happened to private business? What happened to, respecting enterprise and all of this other type of stuff? This is a man's private money, private endowment. And they're not doing this for I'm sure, endowments that are going to students who are probably going to be white because of their background or region that they're going to come from. But we have to get on the good foot about this, because you also mentioned this happening in another place with a Latino graduate. There's absolutely no way this is not happening across the country. And those who are interested in being benefactors and helping people go to school, we are absolutely going to have to look at other ways to make sure our young people get the money that they need, whether it's through, maybe engineering, National Association for Society for Black Engineers or other organizations like that. We have to be more strategic, because they're being more strategic in dismantling the ways we're able to get finances for our education.
Yeah. It is happening over and over and over again. All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. More on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your support is critical to the work that we do. And so if you want to do so, again, our goal is to get 20,000 people contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day to support this show and the 5 other shows on the Black Star Network. If you want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. You can also use this QR code for credit cards. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and I'm watching the Black Star Network.
Hold on. All right, folks. This week, the House is set to take up a $69.5 billion budget reconciliation package to fund immigration and customs enforcement, as well as Border Patrol, through 2029. It has already passed the Senate on Friday. Republicans will need near unanimous support on the measure, which is not expected to get any Democratic votes. At a news conference today, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries made it clear which way he was voting and why.
From the very beginning of this Congress, House Democrats have made clear that the cost of living in the United States of America is far too high, and that Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. But costs haven't gone down in the United States of America. Costs have gone up. Grocery prices are too high. Housing costs are too high. Healthcare costs are too high. Utility bills are too high. Gas prices are out of control. America is far too expensive. And Donald Trump hasn't made the situation better. He's made the situation worse. The Trump tariffs have increased costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year. The Republican assault on the health care of the American people has caused health insurance costs to skyrocket. And at the same period of time, Donald Trump's reckless and costly war of choice in Iran has resulted in gas prices through the roof. America is far too expensive. There are far too many people in this country who are working hard, they're playing by the rules, but they're unable to thrive and they can barely survive. And that's not acceptable in the United States of America. So House Democrats are going to continue to fight to drive down the high cost of living and push back against the Republican efforts to make life more expensive. We believe that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not give ICE another $70 billion blank check so they can unleash brutality on American citizens and violently target law-abiding immigrant communities. House Democrats will be a hard no on the reckless Republican budget reconciliation bill this week.
All right. Listen, Ome Congo, Democrats shouldn't give any support to what Republicans are doing. What we are seeing are individuals who are allowing an absolutely corrupt individual occupy the Oval Office. These people still do not want reforms when it comes to ICE, and they want them to operate with impunity.
Yeah, he didn't need the hat though, but that's okay. We'll keep it moving. Look, I think that when you look at what ICE is doing,
he's going to support. He's going to support his Knicks. So even though I want the Spurs to win tonight, but go ahead.
No doubt. No, I'm with you on that. Look, ICE. How much more do they need? First of all, I mean, even during the last shutdown, they were still getting money that was appropriated. These guys, they're so wealthy right now, like they're buying airplanes with like bars, on the planes. How much more money do they need? And I'll be honest, Roland, like I appreciate what Jeffries is saying, but I'm not fully convinced that one or two Democrats. I mean, when he leans in hard, Democrats tend to follow him and whatnot, but I wouldn't be surprised if some broke. But really, at the end of the day, this is a vote that's going to just keep all Republicans on record as we go into the midterms. Nothing has happened that has made ICE more popular since Trump got in, since Holman was doing his thing, since Mark Wayne Mullen took over. Nothing's changed. Everybody thought, well, since Kristi Noem was going to leave, that people are going to not care about ICE anymore. So my thing is, let them vote. my hope is that some Republicans will develop enough of a conscience because, now that we're past Memorial Day and so many of these primaries are done, Republicans can start to do a little bit more to have a bit of a spine going to the midterms. So I'm hoping that will happen. Maybe they'll shave off 1 or 2 or 3 Republicans in this particular bill right now. But at the end of the day, Trump's number one priority is his racism and his hate, and ICE is the organization that he's using to do it, to practice all of it, him and Stephen Miller. And so I'm hoping that this fails, but even if it fails, he's not going to stop because this is his number one way to demonstrate his racism.
Derek?
Roland, I had to unpackage the package, right? Because I want to make sure your listening audience understand what this $70 billion, what they want to do with it. $30.7 billion, Roland, they want to hire 20,000 unqualified high school dropout, paying them $100,000, $50,000 sign-on bonus, and if they got college, $60,000 forgiveness. They're also including this 30.7 personnel and operation. Then they have $46.5 billion, Roland, to construct a new border wall that they've been talking about for years. And then $5 billion, Roland, get this, to build more detention centers in the United States, across the United States. And then last but not least, Roland, $1 billion to finish the ballroom. So it's not just $70 billion for ICE and the border and facilities. It's the border, it's the deal with the ballroom too. So when conservatives, like Republicans, say they're fiscally conservative, I call that BS. And every Democrat up there in Washington, D.C. should be calling out BS when you have SNAP, you got children that are on SNAP benefits. Here in Georgia, we got 644,000 children that need their SNAP benefits, and the federal government saying, no, we can't afford that. That's a problem.
Oh, absolutely. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. Marshall Project did a breakdown. It's a 10-year period. Nearly 50 people dying by suicide. What is going on in Mississippi prisons? We'll talk about that next right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
How you doing? I'm Mark Curry, and you're watching the Black Star Network. That's why I got these glasses on, because that black star is bright.
Folks, at least 47 people have died by suicide while in restrictive housing units in Mississippi's prisons between 2015 and 2025. That's according to a new joint investigative report by the Marshall Project, Mississippi Today, and the Clarion Ledger. The investigation, which looked into a decade of Mississippi prison records, included several disturbing findings, including that nearly 75% of all suicides inside Mississippi prisons occurred in so-called restricted housing units, commonly known as solitary confinement, where well-being checks are supposed to be conducted more often. Many of those cases involve men and women with histories of mental health struggles and suicide attempts that were known to prison officials before their deaths. Joining us now is one of the reporters behind the piece, Daja Henry, staff writer for the Marshall Project. Daja, glad to have you here. So let's talk about this here. I mean, we've had previous reporting on what's going on in Mississippi prisons. In fact, when Kristen Clark led the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, they were investigating Mississippi prisons. These prisons have been brutal for decades. And what the hell does Governor Tate Reeves and others say about what's happening in that state?
Deja, and thank you for having me. But prison deaths are not very high priority in the state. There has, along with this investigation, we also investigated homicides within the prisons. And that led to the commissioner, Burl Cain, saying that they would investigate these homicides more. There's been some attempted legislation to increase oversight or create oversight to look into prison deaths, but that did not gain the momentum that it needed to pass. So it's still pretty not high on the priority list here.
So you've got state officials, no big deal. It's not like you've got a Department of Justice that's actually going to look into it. Donald Trump doesn't give a damn. And so are folks just throwing up their hands and saying there's nothing they can do?
I think with sustained reporting, such as the work that we're doing here with the Marshall Project, getting this in front of legislators and people who can make these decisions, hopefully people are starting to continue looking at this. But there hasn't been any meaningful reform as of yet.
And so who is leading this? Is it Mississippi Black Caucus? Who's actually showing on a political level that they actually care about this issue?
This past legislative session, there was a representative, Becky Curry. She's a Republican legislator here and chairs the House Corrections Committee. And she introduced this legislation that would create oversight into prisons, along with the suicides I mentioned before. Homicides have been a problem here in the prisons. And after seeing these alarming findings, of course, she kind of led that charge to try and get some oversight and get people looking into the prison deaths.
Questions from my panel. Derek, U.S. State Representative. This is something that state officials should care about. Just because folks are in prison doesn't mean they're no longer humans.
I absolutely agree with you, Roland. I mean, we got our fair share of challenges here in Georgia. And my question, when you think about 75% of Mississippi deaths by way of suicide by those who have spent, get this, 515 days in solitary confinement in Mississippi. 515 days. Is there something that we can call upon, a call to action? Georgia is the largest Black caucus in the United States, but what can we do to help Mississippi in this effort? Because if we help Mississippi, we'll help Georgia too, because we got the same challenges.
Right. I'm not in the place to speak from an advocacy standpoint, but just thinking about that, like the numbers you mentioned, there has been legislation across the country introduced to limit solitary confinement. So looking at what other states have done. But there is, as you mentioned, that number that you mentioned was from a Department of Justice investigation into Parchman, one of the prisons here, that people in restrictive housing spent an average of 515 days there. The National Commission on Correctional Health Care says that solitary confinement should never exceed more than 15 days. So you have such a huge difference in what should happen or what is like what's the standard and what is not happening. And so I think one looking at continuing to place the spotlight on this and also to look at what other places have done. There have been some, not only in the legislation limiting solitary confinement, some places have also introduced things that would create oversight to review prison deaths. And so that like having someone who is looking into why people are dying.
On Congo.
Oh, thank you so much for your incredible work and research. I'm thinking about the law enforcement idea of, suicide by cop when, somebody raises a gun to the police and they know that they're going to get shot because they've done so. Do you find situations like that happening given this solitary confinement? You're saying it's not supposed to be more than 15 days. You and Representative Johnson are talking about it's over 500 days. It's like you can almost predict the natural result of what would happen by keeping somebody like that. So isn't that kind of another type of suicide by prison guard type of mindset here?
Interestingly enough, I would say yes and no. So one of the things that we find more commonly is that there is a lack of presence from corrections officers in solitary confinement. And so you see that in the Mississippi Department of Corrections policy, people who are in restrictive housing should be checked on more frequently than people in the general population. But because of things like understaffing in the prisons, they are largely unsupervised and sometimes may even not be checked on less. So we have, even in some cases, some people who have died by suicide, they weren't found for hours. Rigor mortis has set in by the time that their bodies were found. And so, it's kind of opposite on that aspect. But yes, these are torturous conditions that people are in, that there is a large body of research saying this is harmful and heightens the risk of suicide, worsens mental health conditions. And, when you keep people under these conditions, what is expected to happen?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, then. Deja, tell people where they can actually check out the reporting.
Yes, this investigation can be found at themarshallproject.org and MississippiToday.org.
All right, then. Well, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, folks, go to a break. We come back. Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble, and we'll also share with you what's happening in the LA mayoral race, and of course, hear from Warwick Dunn. We're talking about what his foundation and their Celebrity Golf Classic and what the money is going to be raised for. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Black Star Network.
Folks, time for Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
Over the weekend, 2 mass shootings increased concerns about public safety at large gatherings. Incidents in both Kansas City, Missouri and Toledo, Ohio left 21 people injured. Early Saturday morning, Kansas City police responded to the 7900 block of Trost Avenue after reports of gunfire. Officers arrived around 4 a.m. and found a large crowd dispersing from the area. Authorities say 9 adults were injured but suffered non-life-threatening injuries and are expected to survive. However, bullets reportedly struck nearby homes. And just hours later in Toledo, gunfire broke out near the annual Old West End Festival. 12 people between the ages of 14 and 61 were injured. Police believe that 2 people may have been firing at each other in the crowd after a fight broke out. All victims are reportedly in stable care. The Toledo shooting forced the organizers to cancel the festival's final day. In both cases, authorities say the investigations remain active and no suspects have been taken into custody. A black man from North Carolina has been released after spending more than 50 days in jail for being wrongly identified as a suspect in the crime that occurred in Florida. Jaleel Richardson was charged with vehicle theft in connection with an incident in Jacksonville in April of 2025. A sheriff's deputy used AI technology to identify Richardson as an 85% match to a person captured in surveillance footage from a nearby Publix store. Well, the state attorney's office stand that the identification, along with 2 eyewitness accounts, was sufficient to establish probable cause for Richardson's arrest. Prosecutors later dropped the case when evidence revealed that he was, in fact, hundreds of miles away in North Carolina at his job at the time of the crime. Richardson has described his experience as racial profiling, stating that the arrest cost him his job, his home, and custody of his children.
There was no proper investigation done to even reach out to me or to see if I was even in Florida. And I sat in there for over 50 days in the most worst jail ever. I'm not sure how I'm gonna bounce back from this one, you know. It's a lot. I'm just taking it one day at a time.
According to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Richardson is believed to be at least the 14th person in the United States wrongfully arrested due to facial recognition misidentification. A lawsuit is currently attempting to block a UFC Fight Night event scheduled to take place at the White House. The lawsuit was filed by 2 Virginia residents who argue that the event is unlawful under national park regulations. They also contend that Trump stands to gain financially from the event because of his ownership stake in the UFC's parent company. Despite the legal challenge, the White House intends to proceed with the event on June 14th and has labeled the lawsuit as baseless and dilatory. A flesh-eating parasite that has been eradicated over 40 years ago has reappeared in cattle in Texas. On June 3rd, the Agriculture Department announced the detection of the New World screwworm in a calf in the state, with a second case confirmed just 2 days later. The parasite targets warm-blooded animals by laying its eggs in the open wounds. Once the larvae hatch, they consume living tissue and can be fatal if not treated promptly. The screwworm was successfully eradicated in 1982 through the release of millions of sterile flies, which prevented the species from reproducing. In response to this resurgence, federal officials are once again employing the same strategy to curb the parasite spread. The USDA is investing $750 million in a new facility in Texas that will produce hundreds of millions of sterile flies each week. Experts caution that a widespread outbreak could lead to nearly $2 billion in annual losses for Texas livestock producers due to animal losses, treatment costs, and additional labor. A jury awards $13 million to the family of a Star Trek star in a wrongful death lawsuit. Nichelle Nichols was widely recognized for her role as Lieutenant Aurora. She became a trailblazer as the first Black woman to play a lead role on TV, but after her death in 2022, her family filed a lawsuit against the New Mexico hospital where she'd been admitted for shortness of breath and other symptoms consistent with acute heart failure. Now, according to the family's lawsuit, Nichols should have been given a full cardiac examination, but instead, the 89-year-old was sent to the observation unit and then discharged to an assisted living home where she died 7 hours later. Nichols' son has said that he filed the lawsuit in part to shed light on the medical mistreatment, because if it could happen to a celebrity like his mom, it could happen to anyone. And the basketball world is mourning the loss of Stacey King. The former Chicago Bulls big man and longtime broadcaster died over the weekend at the age of 59. King spent 8 seasons in the league after being selected 6th overall in the 1989 NBA draft by the Bulls. He quickly became part of one of basketball's greatest dynasties, helping the Bulls capture 3 straight NBA championships alongside Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen during the franchise's legendary early 90s run. After his time in Chicago, King went on to play for several NBA teams, including the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Boston Celtics. Following his playing days, he became a fan favorite broadcaster known for his energetic calls, memorable catchphrases, and larger-than-life personality behind the microphone. The Chicago Bulls announced King's passing on Sunday, but did not provide a cause of death. King will certainly be missed.
Folks, be sure to catch the Breakdown Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. Again, the Breakdown Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Let's talk about the Los Angeles mayoral race. And man, the right-wing MAGA people are out of their mind because they're poor, grossly unqualified, and uneducated, and really stupid candidate Spencer Pratt is now in 3rd place, and he's not going to be in the runoff. Incumbent Mayor Karen Bass has 34.7% of the votes. So far, she has 250,871 votes. Nithya Rahman, she is on the city council. She has 27.1%, 196,198 votes. She's a 3,000 vote lead against former reality participant Spencer Pratt. He has 26.7%. And so the right-wing people have been going crazy on social. This Donald Trump yelling the same thing, saying, oh, my God, the election was rigged. Why did they take so long counting ballots in California? Well, first of all, the way everything is not about, you can early voting. People like Van Lathan, he posted, he dropped his ballot in the mail on Tuesday. Well, if the law allows for you to have your ballot postmarked by Election Day, it kind of takes time for the ballots to come in and for the ballots to be counted. Okay, that's not a big deal. It's a no-brainer. The other thing, Derek, that people don't understand is that, and this is the problem with a lot of people, they assume that on election night, all ballots have been counted. That's not true. I mean, so the problem is you have overseas ballots. Again, if you have a regulation that said postmark by a certain date, and then you have that, and so although an election might be called, although somebody might concede, it doesn't mean all of the ballots have actually been counted.
You're exactly right, Roland. I mean, listen, I spent 22 years in the United States Navy. I was overseas 10,000 miles away. 9 times out of 10, I completed an absentee ballot. And it'll tell you, as long as you have it postmarked by such a date, it is going to be counted. And then every state is different, but for the most part, there's this thing called certification. And that certification process starts after the election date, Roland. 7 to 10 days after the election date, there's going to be a certification process. That's the actual number. So it's not just a number on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. You have to look at the totality of the system. And then last but not least, let's just call it what it is, Roland. They're losing their minds because the person that's occupying the Oval Office continues to say the 2020 election was, he won and they cheated him. And so now you're going to have this poison in our election process, thinking that, if the number said this on Tuesday and now it's a different number on Wednesday, somebody cheated, and that's not the case. We're going to be going back to a special session on dealing with gerrymandering and the election process because they want to turn our ballots to paper ballots, Roland. And so we're going to be going back to the special session on June 17th. And what you think if the Republicans make this happen? If we go back to paper ballots, we won't know until 10 days later. And so this is the kind of problem that we're dealing with, when you're going to have these kind of MAGA individuals who are going to continue to say, well, if the number was X that one on that day, and now it's Y on this day, somebody cheated. And that's not the case.
Well, and that's all you see. I mean, these people are just, they want to whine and complain about everything on Congo. And this is just who they are. And this is just the latest thing that gets them all hot and bothered.
Yeah, and their logic doesn't even make sense. I mean, if there was going to be shady things going on with this election, you would think that they would have declared victory immediately on the night of. So that's number one, for Bass. Number two, I believe Mayor Bass would probably prefer to run against Pratt versus Ramon as it relates to, running in Los Angeles. So that's another thing. I mean, the California voting system is just, it is what it is. It takes forever. I mean, at one point, Ramon thought that she had lost to Spencer Pratt, and now she's back in the lead. So yeah, they can make the system easier, they can make the system better or faster. But look, at the end of the day, they have a system in place, and you'd rather get stuff right than rushed. And we talked about this last week. The fact that the only qualification they had for this guy was former reality star who sold like crystals or whatever, and that's the competition they're putting up against Mayor Bass. They should be ashamed of themselves, but of course they have no shame, and all they have is grievance. And it's great to see that another candidate who tried to run on grievance was not able to be successful, and he should have never gotten the amount of votes that he got in the first place, but here we are. And really, at the end of the day, Republicans, they need to just move on. The last thing I will say is that they say, oh, these new batches of votes keep coming in, and Spencer doesn't have any votes. He's getting 0 votes. That's an absolute lie. He's getting votes, just not enough to be able to push forward. So this has been dismantled on several different levels. Republicans need to accept it, but part of their shtick is the grievance, because that's the point at the end of the day.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. I got to go to a break. We come back. I want to talk about media bias that completely overlooks strong black mayors. I'll unpack that when we come back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your support from our fans are critical to our success, folks. We have plans to broadcast across this country, especially in the fall. We want to be in these battleground states. We want to be in Ohio. We want to be in Kentucky, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Florida. The reality is, it takes money to be able to broadcast all across the country. So when you join our Bring the Funk fan club, you are defraying those costs. If 20,000 people on average give at least $50 each, that's $1 million a year. That really helps us out when it comes to pay for the things that we want to cover. And so if we want you to do so, if you have not joined, please do so. If you have joined and you have not re-upped your donation, please do so. And listen, if you can't give $50, if you can give less, we appreciate that. If you can give more, we appreciate that as well. But we're independent black-owned media. And I'm telling you right now, ain't that many people out here doing the work that we do. And we want to keep doing it. We think it's important, but your support really is critical. So if you want to give via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. Just click the Cash App pay button to contribute. This is for credit cards as well. If you're listening, please go to blackstarnetwork.com for instructions on how to give. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196. Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
You know, folks, I really do hate listening to mainstream national media. Some call them lamestream. And the reason I hate it is because it is so driven by a New York, D.C. bias. So perfect example. For the past year, how many times have you heard them say, Zohran Mamdani, he's the future of the Democratic Party? And then you go, I'm sorry, but how? Because, okay, he's an avowed democratic socialist. I get it. But this is what I understand. And no, I understand it because New York City is the media capital of the world. And so therefore, the producers, the executives, the host, and all of these people, if you're in New York and D.C., you drive the conversation. I'm here in Atlanta. CNN used to be headquartered here in Atlanta. And I'll say this here. CNN was a lot different when it was headquartered in Atlanta. And that all changed when Jeff Zucker took over. And that was a huge mistake because he basically shut down CNN in Atlanta, moved everyone to New York. And when you do that, you then begin to change what matters, the issues that are covered. And so this is what and let me be real clear, this is not any hate or shade on Zohran Mamdani. But you notice they never, ever say Andre Dickens, the mayor of Atlanta, Justin Bibb, the mayor of Cleveland. You don't hear them say Vi Lyles, the mayor of Charlotte, even though she's stepping down. You don't hear them say Randall Woodfin, mayor of Birmingham. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And so it's just dumb to me when I listen to that analysis as if there are black mayors that were not reelected all across the country, many of them in landslides. So I just need y'all to understand. I need you to pay attention to the framing. Because when they classify Mamdani as, quote, the future of the Democratic Party, they act as if these other highly successful mayors don't exist. And that to me is idiotic. Because, I don't know, can y'all show me the last New York mayor who actually went on to higher office? Matter of fact, if I had to sit here and Siri, who was the last New York City mayor to become governor? Let's see here. The last mayor of New York City to become governor was John T. Hoffman in 1869. Siri, who was the last New York City mayor to become president? Let's see. I'm sorry. No mayor of New York City has ever gone on to become president of the United States. Do y'all see what I'm saying here? Do you now understand when these people are telling you, oh, so-and-so is the future of the party, they are projecting some BS, and then they all run along with it. And so then Politico, then Axios, then Notice, then Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. And they all run with this story, and it's bullshit. It's not based upon reality. But what they want to do is they want to frame the narrative and control the narrative. And that, to me, is nonsensical. It gets on my nerves, and I just think it's unbelievably stupid. Let me go to my panel. Mikongo, I want to start with you. And, I mean, it really does get on my nerves when producers and hosts, and they just don't leave those two places, and they see the entire world. And I'm telling you, I need people to understand, in those newsrooms, I'm telling you right now, in these cable news and broadcast newsrooms, the producers, the executives, they do not wake up in the morning and say, oh, okay, I'm going to read the Detroit Free News, the Detroit News, the Detroit Free Press. I'm going to read the Charlotte Observer. I'm going to read the New Orleans Times-Picayune. I'm going to read Mississippi Today. I'm going to read the paper in Memphis. I'm going to read. No, they don't do any of that. So they're not getting a national view of what's happening. And in fact, I remember, Mikongo, Obama gets elected 2009. We have a significant financial crisis. And I was in Columbus, Ohio, giving a speech. I think it was around MLK or Black History Month. And they were talking about canceling their rookie cadet class because they didn't have the funds. And so when the stimulus package was passed under Obama Biden, money in there restored that cadet class. But I remember before that got passed, I remember going back to CNN and telling Campbell Brown and her team about that. And I was like, yo, y'all really need to get Michael Coleman, the mayor of Columbus, on the show to talk about the impact of this economy on his budget. They were looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, how about y'all not talk everything out of D.C.? Well, what happens when the stimulus gets passed and they restore the class, all of a sudden it's like they're talking about, the stimulus bill, this is one of the things they paid for. And I'm kind of like, y'all could have been like 4 months ahead of the game if you listen to me. They don't lead. They think everything revolves around New York City and Washington, D.C., and it doesn't.
And it's extremely frustrating. I'm right there with you. I knew it when you came back from the break. I hope you aired it. It's one of the segments you clip because people need to see this. The way that they build up Mamdani, and again, like you said, it's not about any beef with him, but Mamdani couldn't win in Texas for a Senate seat, and Tallarico couldn't win in New York. Most like, the Democrats, you get people who are right for the areas that they're in. We've had Mayor Brandon Scott, Baltimore. Look at what he's doing with education and crime reduction in Baltimore. You had the mayor of Newport News last week as well. And so there are so many incredibly powerful stories that could be told about mayors across this country. I would add, in addition to you saying they're not reading the different newspapers, they're also not traveling to go and seeing these places. So how in the hell are they going to know in any way, shape, or form? And one of the things with Mamdani, I think it's also like a little bit of fool's gold in terms of the way they're building him up, because you're dealing with somebody who can never run for president because he's a naturalized citizen. And so I feel like there's going on that level as well on the back end. But you're absolutely right. There are incredibly powerful stories of Black mayors across this country, some who are new, some who've been doing this for a while, who have incredible records that they can run on. But people are always about the person of the moment, the hero of the moment. And that right now, as it relates to mayors, it's Mamdani. Right now, as it relates to Senate candidates, it's Tallarico. And Black folks continually get ignored for the incredible work that they're doing at all of the levels where they have representation and leadership right now.
Well, to that point, and let me be real clear, Derek, I have been very consistent with this. I think it is stupid when media outlets go, so-and-so is a rising star. No, you have to win. So State Representative James Tellerico is not a rising star in the Democratic Party because he hasn't won. Beto O'Rourke was not a rising star in the Democratic Party because he hadn't won. I remember when it was Huffington Post or Politico, they were touting rising star Congressman Arthur Davis. And I'm like, why y'all calling him a rising star? And then he voted against the Affordable Care Act. His ass got trounced running for governor. He started running for all sorts of offices and kept losing. And I was ripping him left and right. But I just thought it was just dumb, this rising star. No, you need to win. You need to win. Guess what? Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, okay? Never met her. I thought I was going to meet her in Montgomery, but she quickly left. And so rising star. No, she's a member. She won. She's a member of Congress. But the bottom line is, if she runs for the United States Senate, different ballgame if she wins. If she runs for president, let's see what happens. I just can't stand how national media plays that game, and then they put so much emphasis, and they begin to say, yes, a Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party, as if, again, Dickens doesn't get reelected to a second term in Atlanta by a huge margin. Bibb doesn't get reelected in Cleveland. Woodford doesn't get reelected. I mean, it just drives me crazy. And I need people to understand, and I really need people to understand this here. When you watch this show, I'm telling y'all, without a doubt, I can't watch those other networks. Without a doubt, you are going to see far more diversity of mayors, council members, state reps, state senators, members of Congress on this show than any show on cable or broadcast television, because, Derek, we're not just looking at New York City and D.C. We're looking at Detroit, Memphis, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, looking at Charlotte, New Orleans. We're looking at Jackson, Mississippi. Much casting a wider net, because that's what we should be doing.
You're exactly right, Roland. And let's face it, the media outlets are only reporting what the Democratic establishment, what they're allowing. The Democratic establishment is behind this, Roland. Let's not kid ourselves here. Since 1964.
No, they're not. No, they're not. You know who it is? I'm telling you right now. I was at CNN for 6 years. The people who are determining this are a small cabal of largely white male executives who say we can only discuss 2 or 3 things a day. I'm telling you, I have been in the belly of that beast, and I never understood why. I remember when I filled in for Campbell Brown, I was like, why in the hell are we talking about the same damn stories that Wolf was talking about, and they were talking about at 3 o'clock, and they were talking about at noon? Is it possible that we could actually talk about some other stuff that might be of interest? And then when I tried to bring in I remember we were going to discuss a Supreme Court ruling, and I want to have former Congressman Floyd Flake leading a massive church in Jamaica, Queens, who was president of Wilberforce, and literally a white producer said, "Who's Floyd Flake?" And I went, "You live in New York City, and you know who Floyd Flake is?" They wanted, I forgot who they wanted. And I was like, okay, if we're going to talk about education, talk to that guy. It was the dumbest thing. It was unbelievable how they would look at me like I was nuts when I was introducing people knowledgeable on the issues but it was people they did not know. That's my problem. This is a mainstream media driven deal when they decide who is important and who isn't.
So based on that point, with all these billionaires who are now purchasing these media outlets and networks, Roland, I don't think it's going to get any better, right? You got these high-tech billionaires who are going to start putting in their selected individuals, and now you're going to have Fox Network on steroids at CNN, MS Now, and all these other major outlets. The only reason why I was suggesting the approach I was making is that when Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, gets on that podium, he can say, as the minority leader, and say, this is, Jasmine Crockett is our rising star, not Tellerico. She's a duly elected sitting congresswoman running for the United States Senate. She is our candidate. So that's what I meant by we can push back as those of us who are elected can say who, when we get on platforms, the beautiful thing, that's the reason why I always tune in on election night on the Black Star Network, your program, because you give that unvarnished perspective on election night versus when these billionaires who are starting to take over these major networks, Roland, if those individuals don't follow the script, they're going to find themselves, with their own program like Don Lemon and others who are starting to. So that's the point I was about to make.
I mean, listen, first of all, an individual can decide who they want to endorse, all of that. I get all of that. No, what I'm talking about is, again, how they cover. For instance, the last week, you have seen massive coverage of Graham Plattner. You have not seen the same coverage of Ken Paxton. You haven't.
That's right.
And so all I'm saying is I just want the audience to be very careful when they say this is the future of the Democratic Party. That's why I laugh anytime I see these people and they say that and again, this is no shade against AOC, when they say, I forgot, it was somebody was like, AOC and Bernie Sanders, they're running the Democratic Party. I'm going, no, they're not. I'm sorry. Can you show me how many bills of Bernie Sanders and AOC that have actually gotten passed? I mean, Lauren Underwood has actually, to my knowledge, has actually passed more bills than AOC has. She's passed more bills than Bernie Sanders has. I just want the people to be very mindful of when you hear these things, they are saying these things for a reason. And I'm saying that what we have to do is push back on that particular nonsense when they say it. All right, folks, let me thank Derek and Ome Congo for being on today's show. Gentlemen, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, I am here in Atlanta. Ward Dunn, former NFL player, played for Tampa Bay Bucks, played for the Atlanta Falcons, has an annual celebrity golf classic. His charity does a lot of work in providing furniture and other resources for families who have homes built by Habitat for Humanity. You might remember the story of his mother, a police officer, murdered in the line of duty in Baton Rouge. And he's really has had a focus on helping people become homeowners. Now they are expanding what they are doing by focusing on the physical health and the mental health of these families that they help. Well, last night they had the pairings party, and so I got a chance to be there, help them with the auction, raise some money. Today was the golf tournament. Later we'll show you some of the sights and sounds from the golf tournament. But just wanted to have tonight, though, you can hear from Ward Dunn talking about the great things that he's doing here in Atlanta with the Ward Dunn charities. Here another year for the golf tournament. For folks who don't know, this is not just about playing golf. It's really providing resources for folks in need.
Yeah. For me, though, it's really here to help raise money for my Homestead Holidays program, but also now we want to educate people on our SCOPE program that we have, overall brand of health and wellness, where we have Health is Your Wealth, get the families to get out and get their biometrics, work out, growing vegetables in their backyard, cooking healthy meals at home, financial health, where Count on Your Future program, where we say if you invest in yourself, we will invest in you. We're helping them start a savings account. And I'm always stressing needs versus wants, and also mental health, Betty's Hope, where we're trying to help kids and family have a balance on every day, how they respond to adversity, trauma. So for me, we can create healthy minds, healthy bodies. We create healthier communities through our SCOPE program. With our Homestead Holidays and SCOPE, that's really the wraparound support services. And all of that really started that's how I grew up. We were a community, everyone knew each other. We were always outside. Times have changed, and technology has changed a lot of things, but at the same time, I love that community feel, and I just want to be able to help individuals and families with impacting the community in a positive way.
So, when was that point when you say, we need to expand this beyond just providing, the furniture and things along those lines? So, what really led to that?
Well, I think over the years, you start to see how can I help eliminate a lot more issues, but also in the homes now, we give the down payment assistance and we fully furnish it, but we also cater the homes to the family's liking with their favorite colors, themes, and those things. And so we wanted to all you gotta do is bring your clothes. And for me, I just wanted to be able to really help all families get off to a true fresh start, but I also know that my SCOPE program is a part of my journey and how I was raised and the things that I went through and how I really utilize needs versus wants, how you gotta eat healthy to take care of yourself, to live longer. You gotta work out, do those little things. I think everything that I'm talking about when it comes to SCOPE, it's a part of my journey, that things that I've been through that I can relate, that I know that it impacted in my life and made who I am today, but also how can I now take what I have done, an impact it has had on my life, but also go out and help other individuals, other people, other families, communities be better, live better, have a better mindset about, spending money. I grew up on needs versus wants. And, thinking about now, you invest, 80% and spend 20%, right? Think about that, how you can do that, and the outcomes and the returns are down the road, and it's really for the next generation. As we, as parents and, leaders, we have to lead by example. So, for me, it's I just had great individuals that helped me be who I am. A father figure, my grandmother, and just men along the way for me, Coach Bobby Bowden, Charlie Ward, Coach Dungy, Arthur Blank, Mr. Blank, he's the majority owner of the Atlanta Falcons. You have individuals that have helped you take those steps along that path to help me be who I am today, so I'm thankful for that.
What do you want to say to this generation of football players and athletes? It's a lot more money that they're getting, and what do you want to say to them about creating their legacy beyond the field?
Well, you can't just think about the money. You gotta love the game, right? But think about what do you want to be passionate about, right? What is something that brings passion, that drives you, that motivates you? For me, you wake up every day. It's not work to me. It's just something I do because I enjoy doing it, and I don't get paid for it. I've been doing it. The first 5 years I started this program, I just wrote the check out of my pocket. The first 6 years I just wrote the check out of my pocket, just helping individuals. Because in reality, it's not about me. It's not about all the money. It's about the impact that I can make. And I would tell these young guys, it's like, you know, you want to impact the community, set a legacy, then you're not going to think about yourself. You're not going to think about, you know, fancy cars, fancy shoes, clothes, all those things. You're going to think about, you know, what can I do to impact and change a life that's going to make someone else's life, another kid, live better? Because we all have been through journeys, and you think about our journeys, you know, we've had people in our lives that have helped mold us, that directed us. And nobody's 100% perfect. No one's gonna always be right. But it's like, who are you gonna surround yourself with as individuals, right? You're gonna have people in your circle that's gonna push you and help you be better, or tell you when you're wrong, to help you get back on the right track. And that's the type of individuals, company that you should want in your life, they're gonna always be real with you, not tell you what you wanna hear, but tell you what you need to hear so that you're taking those steps and being better. So that next gen, you know, it's hard work, you know, commitment, it's sacrifice, you know, and that's one thing I always tell guys: what are you gonna sacrifice to be great? What are you gonna do that's gonna be different? And for myself, during that journey, I sacrificed a lot. I gave up a lot of stuff to take the steps to get where I'm at today. It's like, how can we try to explain to these guys that all the money in the world, you know, yeah, that's great, but is that gonna make you a better person? What's going to make you be the best human being is really caring not just about yourself, but your community, people around you. How can you help someone else? And that's going to have more of a lasting impact than anything that we could ever do.
All right, out of all the celebrities you had through here, who would you say is the best golfer?
The best golfer? Woo, that's a tough one right there, because, you know, all you guys are up and down. I know there's one guy, his name is Roland Martin, and he hit a lot of people out on the golf course.
Now, see, right now, don't get cut. We know that didn't happen.
No, I'm just messing with you.
You've had Bo Jackson, Sterling Sharp.
Yeah, Sterling. Yeah. No, I've had some really, really good guys, but I think Sterling is a pretty good golfer. Fred McCrary, that's all he does. He golfs all the time. You know, I know, you know, I just had a lot of really good guys over the years that have played in the tournament and that have come out and they put on shows. Doesn't mean their team win, but they actually did their part, and it really, you know, their group enjoyed themselves. And on the golf course, you want to win, but at the same time, you really want to engage your group, right?
Yep.
Engage them and have a great time together, and really just, you know, you guys are talking, laughing, enjoying each other, because those are memories that you're making for, you know, 4, almost 5 hours on the golf course that I think gonna last, is gonna impact people in a positive way. So I don't need guys to be the best golfers in the world. I just need guys to be good golfers. You don't want them to hit anybody, but you want them to really go out and engage and just really, you know, build those relationships, because you just never know where those relationships go.
Absolutely. Well, I saw you at the Chris Tucker golf tournament 3 years ago. You like, man, I want you to play in my tournament. So I think this is my 3rd year. So glad to be here.
No, I appreciate you, you know, coming down and supporting, and, you know, anything I can do to support you, because I mean, I love what you do. So I follow you on YouTube and all those things as well. So, I mean, I'm just happy that I got a big timer like you that I can look up to.
All right, glad to be here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
All right. Okay. All right, folks. Again, we'll put together a piece and we'll show you what happened on the golf course here at the Ward Dunn Celebrity Golf Classic. So, and this is also one of the reasons why, you already know I love to play golf. But one of the other reasons why I love to be able to be on the road and travel and do this, because, you know, last night, almost $130,000, I think it was $130,000, like $130,000 was raised last night. And to listen to these stories, you know, we're going to have, there was a package they put together of families talking about how they are impacted. And, you know, you see lots of stories. You see lots of discussions about athletes and former athletes, and you see the flame outs, you see the arrest for domestic violence, you see all the other drama, somebody got arrested for drugs or whatever, but you don't see oftentimes these type of stories. And so, you know, We, of course, were at the Anthony Anderson Golf Classic last month. The work that they do benefiting the Boys and Girls Club, but actually he's now, the money is benefiting the Chadwick Boseman School of Fine Arts at Howard University. Then Seth the Entertainer, his golf tournament. Jeffrey Osborne, the money they raised there for the arts there in his home state of Rhode Island. Brian Jordan, his foundation. Alex English, what he does for kids there in South Carolina. I mean, just on and on and on. And so the ability for us to be able to bring you these stories and share for you the things that these folks do, I just think is just so important because you're not going to see these stories being done elsewhere. And I can tell you right now, there are a lot of media people who come to these things and they also don't cover a lot of these things as well. And so I just think it's just important that we share these stories. We share the good works that the folks are doing and how so many people are impacted. And that's what I was saying earlier. When you get out of the New York City, Washington, D.C. bubble and you travel to Palm Desert, California, you travel here to Atlanta, and then, we're going to be on Thursday, I'm going to be in Nashville. First time playing in the NFL Players Alumni Golf Tournament. The work that they actually do there as well. I'll be talking with Al Smith and others. And so this is why this network and this show is so important. And look, I see a lot of the stuff happening out here, y'all. And I get it. Bottom line is it's just a bunch of crap that I just don't feel like talking about. I just don't have any interest in a lot of the gossip and the silly stuff that you see being discussed on the morning shows and other podcasts and stuff along those lines. And I just have no interest in it. And so I want to be able to bring to you different stories, share with you different stories and things that are happening. And that's why this is critically important. So that is it. I appreciate all of y'all for watching us. Please do me a favor. I'll be here in Atlanta tomorrow. I'm in Nashville Wednesday and Thursday. Memphis, I'm speaking there at the Juneteenth event there. Be sure to get your tickets for that. Saturday, I'm speaking in Dallas. I'll have the information for you as well. So tomorrow, we'll have for you the graphic for Friday's event in Memphis and then for Saturday's event in Dallas. But do me a favor, please. Y'all watching, listen, thousands are watching here. A lot of y'all watching. And listen, support what we do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Y'all sitting here. I see y'all comments right now on YouTube. Y'all should be hitting that like button, okay? We should have way more likes than we have right now. But your financial support is really important. And, I hear somebody say, man, here you go, always begging. Well, guess what? Asking you shall receive. Don't ask and you damn sure won't receive. But listen, your support is vital. I'm telling you right now. You don't have millionaires and billionaires. I was reading where the Daily Signal, Ben Shapiro's company, they got started with $4.7 million from a Republican super donor out of Texas. Almost $5 million. PragerU, same thing. Started with $7 million, which allowed them to go on to raise $22 million their first year. We haven't received $22 million in 8 years. So I just want y'all to understand what we're up against when we're battling these right-wing people. So please support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can use that QR code for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal is paypal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. Zelle, you can pay Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag. That's right, hats, t-shirts, mugs, all that good stuff. And then y'all get it? Hey, post it on social, tag me, I'll show it on the air. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. If you also want to support the black-owned companies that we have, we support more than 50 products that are on our website. Go to ShopBlackStarNetwork.com. ShopBlackStarNetwork.com. All those products you see in our studio, those are all black-owned products on our marketplace segment. Download the app Fanbase. Follow me at Roland S. Martin. And, of course, do me a favor. Watch every Tuesday, of course. Tomorrow, we stream new episodes of A Balanced Life, Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin. And so you'll check that out every Tuesday. Hits at 11 a.m. Eastern. Then we restream it after my show. Then, of course, every Wednesday, The Other Side of Change with Bria Baker and Jamira Burley. Then, of course, every Thursday, Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Hilton. That's every single Thursday. Then, of course, The Black Table with Dr. Greg Carr, as well as Roland's Book Club. Those stream on Fridays. And, of course, every day, The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, streams every day at noon Eastern. So those are all the shows that we have here on the Black Star Network. Folks, that's it. Hope y'all have a great night. Go Spurs! Yes. That's right. Donald Trump is screwing everything up. He's going to be at the game tonight, as he always does, screw stuff up. But it's so it goes. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!